Hi, welcome to another episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV. I'm your host Marek Mularczyk from sitetraining.co.uk, and welcome to another week and another fascinating episode of PhotoshopLightroomTV. Let me start with a photography tip for you. Okay? Just a quick tip for photography, for photographers. ISO, speed rating. Now if you look in your camera, one of the settings you can set, and this applies to most cameras nowadays, every SLR camera and many compact cameras, is the ISO. ISO is the speed rating on your camera. Like in the past, in the old times when we were using films and film cameras, you could buy a film with certain ISO setting, 100, 200, 400, 800 and even more. Now the higher the value for the ISO, the more light gets into your camera. So for example, using high ISO films in the past, or high ISO setting on your digital camera nowadays, you can take images in the conditions where there's less light. Let's say you're taking images during the concert and you're not allowed to use the flash. You would have to use the higher ISO, like 400, 800 or even 1600. This will give you more light to work with, and the shutter speeds will be faster. Okay, but the higher ISO setting you use, the more grain gets into your images. And this depends between cameras when we talk about digital cameras nowadays, because different cameras react differently. Okay? For example, you may have one camera that gives you really good images on ISO 800. You may have another camera that the images will be really, really grainy on the same ISO setting. Okay? So it's a decision to make, because you compromise here. You can have the high ISO, loads of light, but then you get more grain. Ideally, when you take, let's say, images during the day, and you take an image of a landscape or architecture, you want to go as low as possible with the ISO, so 100, 200, so the quality is the best. But then the shutter speeds might be a bit longer. Okay, we'll follow up on that. This is just an intro to that. So we'll follow up on that, and we'll talk more about ISO, different conditions, different settings ISO. We'll talk more about that. Now let's jump into Lightroom, and in the first tutorial this week, I'm going to talk about importing images into Lightroom and how you can change the size of the thumbnails when you preview images into Lightroom. This is actually something I was writing about on my blog this Monday, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk. There's a post about thumbnails and importing images into Lightroom. This is something that we don't have in Adobe Bridge, because Adobe Bridge doesn't allow you to change the size of the thumbnails. And I'm going to show you that as well. Okay, so let's jump into Lightroom. Okay. Let's talk about importing images into Lightroom or Bridge. And I want to talk to you about previewing the thumbnails when you import images, because quite often you'll be importing images and you may not want to import all of them. And how do you decide which images to reject, so you don't have to spend time later on deleting them after importing? And also remember, if you shoot RAW, the files are really big, so it will take time to import them. I'll start with Bridge, and I'll show you Lightroom in just a moment. So first of all, if you look through Bridge, now Bridge doesn't really have a feature that will open the import dialog box automatically when you connect your memory card. Lightroom does, so we need to import them manually. I'm just plugging my memory card, and I can quickly import images by clicking on this icon here, Get Photos from Camera. Of course, if I use I'm on Windows, so in just a moment the pop-up window should appear asking me what I want to do with the hard drive, or the drive that's just been connected. Okay. But sometimes it doesn't appear. Okay, so I'll be clicking on this icon anyway. So I'm here in Bridge, and I'm going to click on this icon here, Get Photos from Camera, to open the import dialog box. There's loads of features in here, and I really like that. So there's loads of features within the Bridge Photo Downloader. I'm just going to click on Advanced Dialog to get a bigger window with the previous one. Now first of all, I need to select the media. So I will need to select my memory card, and now it starts reading. and rendering the images on the memory card. Okay. Now if I scroll quickly down, not all of the images have been rendered already, so it takes quite a while to render the images. Okay. Just going to make that bigger. Now first thing you notice is, even though I'm resizing the import dialog box here in Bridge, the size of the thumbnails doesn't change, unfortunately. Okay, that's one of the features here. So there's no way to change the size of the thumbnails. There's lots of features in here, like importing them into a subfolder, opening Bridge, converting them to DNG, saving copies, but there's no way to resize the thumbnails. So there's a limitation of Bridge. Also with metadata, there's just a couple of things I can add here: create or copyright, just a basic metadata or none. So not as many features as in Lightroom. Okay, now I'm going to jump into Lightroom. Lightroom does have a feature that says, basically, show the import dialog box when the memory card is being detected. So they should appear automatically. I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to close Bridge. I'm just going to jump into Lightroom. And in Lightroom, yes, the import dialog box just opened. Okay? So it does work in Lightroom. First great feature. Also, I can change the size of the thumbnails by dragging the thumbnails slider. I can make them as small or as big as I want. Okay. So that's a great feature in Lightroom. Okay. I think it's the region, but almost all the images are previewed already. So you can change the size of the thumbnails. You can also use the loop view. So I can click on this icon here to show the loop view. This is a new feature in Lightroom 3, so if you use Lightroom 2 you won't have that. Okay. So I can preview the images larger. And of course I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move between the images. Okay. So that's a great feature in Lightroom, where you can change the size of the thumbnails. You don't have that in Bridge, and you can see them really, really big. So you can, even here, by looking at this image, I can tell if the image is sharp. It is in focus, because this icon is really sharp, and I can even click on it to zoom in using loop. Okay. So I can inspect the image and see what it looks like. Okay. So great feature in Lightroom. Thank you for watching. I'm Marek Mularczyk. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Lightroom on importing images and changing the thumbnail sizes. And as you now know, you can't really change the size of your thumbnails in Bridge. Okay, I recently announced news. My latest DVD has just been published. Unleash the Power of Adobe Photoshop CS5. Video training DVD. It's 12 videos in here. Content-aware fill, mini bridge, HDR toning, the online database-driven lens correction, advanced photo match with content-aware fill. This is all about what's new in Photoshop CS5. How to get quickly up to speed with Photoshop CS5 and these amazing new features. You can get this on lulu.com, or if you go to my blog, PhotoshopLightroomBridge.co.uk, you find a post on that with the link. You can get it from Lulu, or you can get it straight from me. Now, if you order it straight from me, from my website, I'm going to post it to you for free. And it doesn't matter whether you live in Europe, North America, or Australia. I'm going to post it to you for free. Okay, so it's great DVD. 1.5 hours of videos, high definition videos. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a look on it. Now let's jump into the second tutorial. This is the tutorial in Bridge. I'm going to show you how you can preview images full screen and how you can zoom in on the images using full screen view in Adobe Bridge and review mode. Hi, let's have a look. I'm in Adobe Bridge once again, and it's time to talk about full screen preview, review mode, and the magnifier. So I'm here inside Adobe Bridge. I've got a folder of images open here. I'm using the Essential Workspace. So the Essential Workspace displays the small thumbnails of the images in the content area here. And there's a preview section on the right hand side, so I can highlight the image and get a preview. Of course, because the preview is a panel, I can easily resize it to make the image bigger. But I'm actually going to use a full screen for that. So with the image highlighted, I'll just press spacebar on a keyboard to access full screen view. And of course, I can use the arrow keys to cycle between the images. Okay. Now these images are quite small. If I click on it, it doesn't zoom in the images because I am on 100% view already. Okay. These are quite small images. So I'm going to show you a big image and see what's happening with the loop view. I'll just press escape to get back to Bridge. I'm going to navigate to a folder with bigger images. Let me just quickly jump into the folder where I keep images I use on my Photoshop courses. So there's the courses folder in Photoshop, and then Photoshop L1 files and 11 PDF1. Okay, I've got a couple of images here. Let's see how big these are. 1500 by 1000 pixels, still quite small. Let's have a look on this guy here. Okay, and it's 300. Now, if I want to show you the review mode, okay, so I'm going to select the folder with a number of images. I'm going to highlight them all. And the whole purpose behind review mode is to show you loads of images in a 3D carousel in a full screen mode. Now you need to select at least 5 images for that to work. And then you can access review mode either clicking here, review mode, or using Control B or Command B. Okay, this opens full screen mode with images in a 3D carousel. Now you can move between images by clicking and dragging left and right, or using the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard. And if you position your cursor over one of the images, you notice that your cursor changes into a loop. So what you can do is you can click and zoom in to 100% view. Okay. And of course you can move it around to get a clear look of your images, so you can check for any artifacts or the sharpness of the image. Okay. It looks very nice, crispy. This is 100% view. To close that, I'll just click on the top left corner again to preview it. Okay, I'm just going to press escape to exit the 3D carousel or review mode, and that's how you preview images using full screen inside Adobe Bridge CS5. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial in Lightroom. No, in Bridge. in Adobe Bridge CS5. That's it for this week, I'm afraid. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. I'm Marek Mularczyk from scitraining.co.uk, from the train station. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see anything in Photoshop Lightroom TV, let me know. I'll be happy to create a tutorial for you. Otherwise, I will see you next week on next week's episode of Photoshop Lightroom TV. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.